Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Opinionated SEO Opinions. I'm one of your hosts, Sam Torres, and joined by Tori Gray. And today we're going to be talking about SEO roadmaps and really the wonders that can be. And to be the experts talking about this, we're joined by Heather Kaeowichien, who is the head of product at Gray.co. And then also, I'm super stoked to be able to invite Gus Pelogia to discuss with us as well. So Gus, let's start with you. Can you give us a short intro into who you are and what brings you to the show today?
Sure. So, hi everyone. I'm Gus Pelogia. I'm an SEO Product Manager at Indeed. I've been SEO for over 10 years, and I've done a bit of everything. I've done link building, content, technical. I've been a client manager, judged awards, entered awards, and now I've been on the in-house side for the last, let's say, 2.5, 3 years. And for the last year and a half, I became an SEO product manager, and it's like such a different world to be in. And that's where roadmaps come in as well, because it's something that I hadn't really done before. And before we pass it to Heather, I have to say I'm a huge fan of the work you guys do. I read a lot of the stuff that you publish on different websites and on the Gray.co website as well. We are all putting our takes on things, but from time to time, what I see that comes from you guys is also different from all the other takes that other people are doing. Like you had something, I think was Heather, on UGC content that I don't see a lot of people talking about. And there was something about business case that is a lot of what I do as well. So I feel heard reading some of the things that you guys write, and it's an honor to be on this podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really
generous. We love having you. Yes. We're excited to learn from you today.
We are. And then Heather, you are new to our audiences, obviously not new to Tori and I. We get to work next to each other all the time. And you guys Tori and you actually worked together a while back as well. So I'm kind of stealing your thunder. And then also to talk about, Gus was talking about Heather recently published a free SEO roadmap template that you can use. It's magical. So I'm sure we're going to be talking about it throughout the episode. But Heather, would love to hear, what do you want our audience to know about you? Again, I'm biased. I already get to know you pretty well, but would love to hear your quick bio and kind of how you've fallen into product management as well.
Absolutely. So I started a long time ago in SEO, focused strictly in digital marketing. And that is where I stumbled across Tori, and we got to know each other and grow our SEO skills from there. And about a decade ago, I decided to start switching my role more into product management. And so I had a hybrid role of both marketing and product management leadership, and then I pulled the plug and went entirely the other way to product management, leaving SEO behind for a while and focusing just on the product side of things. Actually, for job boards, Gus was my area of specialty for the past 10 years. So yeah, Indeed, and your work is something I was looking to before you even knew I existed. So then from there, coming back now to Gray.company has been a huge opportunity because I get to be back in SEO and doing product management. And so it's been just really refreshing because there's so much to learn about SEO that's happened in the past decade while I was slightly, missing it. And so here I am back doing the two things that I've focused my whole career on, product management and SEO.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and dive in with our first question. Gus, I'm going to start with you. And then, of course, Heather, feel free to interject, and Tori and I will as well. But how do you approach building a strategy as an SEO product manager? What's kind of the high-level breakdown of what that work looks like for you?
Yeah, so I think for me, I would always start with that you have an idea, right? You think something could work. And that can come from looking at other websites or things that you've done in the past. Or now that I embrace the product mindset, I start seeing product things everywhere. It's like, oh, Netflix has this thing that says one more show to go. I wonder what they're trying to do with this. Do they want to keep people for longer? And so everything seems like a product thing in my head now. But I'll start with an idea, and with that, I will need to develop that a little bit. I need to validate that idea. Does that actually make sense to be done? Do we have the resources to do it? Let's say does our CMS allow us to do something like this? And then you're gonna go through the validation. You want to see, is there search volume to go after this, or is there a business reason that we need to develop something like this beyond search volume? In our case, for Indeed, we want people to find more jobs. So are we helping more people to apply for jobs? It's always the question in the back of our heads. And then as a third stage, I will write a PRD, and which is a product requirements document. Some people might just call that a business case. It's the same thing on a broad level. And in the middle of all of this, I will always pick people from different teams. It can be a stakeholder from content, one from UX, and always I get an engineer as well, whoever is being more friendly or I'm close to on that moment, to sense check a lot of those ideas, because sometimes you think, oh, this is very simple. I'm just gonna get those pages and they'll appear on this other page. And they'll say, well, this is connected to something else, and there's 3 levels of people that need to approve this and that. So you need to sense check if that idea is as simple or as complex as you believe it is before you go and share with everyone and start getting that buy-in.
So, I mean, very similar process of starting with ideas. I try to collect ideas from everywhere and everybody. Kind of a later in my career philosophy is just to let all ideas come onto the table, not to try to be a gatekeeper of ideas. That's not, a product manager's role. A product manager's role is to vet the ideas. So all ideas come in and, you go through that vetting process. And go through that business case. And I like to personally present my business cases to a diverse group of stakeholders and just see what's like getting excitement, what's lighting fires, because there's something there that you can't always quantify. So while testing can give me metrics and hard numbers and data, presenting your business cases and what's, up for your roadmap to different stakeholders can definitely help give kind of a qualitative feedback. So from there, I go into the strategy planning phase, right? What teams are available, who can do what, how is that going to get done? So everything kind of aligns on the roadmap with whatever the resources are that are available.
Awesome. So when talking with those stakeholders, Gus, I really loved that you called out like whoever I'm getting along with the most right now. I feel like there's a lot of times where as SEOs, we need to do that with engineering of like, who did I bring the latest batch of cookies to? Which is how I used to make friends with my developers when we were working in Office for sure.
Cookies and beer. This is the way.
Exactly. So what are some of the things like I've definitely had experiences where like trying to get input from other stakeholders sometimes, and like Heather, you mentioned like all ideas need to like, don't be a gatekeeper of ideas, which I really like that too. But how do you sometimes work on like getting that input if it's someone who's not thinking in those terms as far as like how to prioritize or features, or like, do you have any tricks on how you communicate in this initial step so that you can get like real feedback and it's not pulling teeth, or you're not putting someone into a role that maybe they're not comfortable in?
Yeah, I think with the engineering side, when I said I pick whoever I'm getting along in the moment, is more towards like, I actually have like a great group of engineers. I've had harder, difficult experiences before, but now I feel sometimes like if someone is already working on a similar project and I can get that person, I have a one-on-one, it's like 15 minutes, half an hour, where I can kind of come and ask the dumb questions. And I always come with a point already, like, so I want to tell my manager that doing this and this is easy. Am I correct in saying that we only need 4 tickets to this? Are these the 4 steps that we need? And it kind of goes to sense check that idea. Once it comes to other stakeholders from all teams that could possibly be involved on something, for me, writing that PRD is essential, because when you try to explain like a whole story to someone in 5 or 10 minutes, and we are looking at screens and we are Zoom calls all day, and it's easy to get distracted. But if you're giving someone, here's a document, read it on your own time. You can sip a coffee, you can eat something, you can do something in the same time if you want. There's not like that screen pressure that someone is waiting for you on the other line. And I usually have that line of communication. They will come with a lot of questions, and the more senior the person is, the more they will grill you, and that's fine. If they're grilling those ideas, it means they're actually paying attention and they know those ideas. If they go ahead, have a cost, and the cost is also reflect on how the whole product is performing. So I usually get a lot of feedback on those, and you can go async answering those questions and making sure that if you can address something, it is addressed. So the idea is not just your idea anymore. You're, as Heather said, you're not gatekeeping anything. You're bringing people in to your initiative, and if it's not addressable, you can explain why. So they are also satisfied with, okay, this doesn't make sense, or this can't be done for A, B, and C. And for me, the PRDs are essential to have that conversation flowing. And sometimes I write something, it doesn't go ahead, that's fine, but we didn't spend engineering resources or anything. It wasn't too expensive to just work on that idea, and that's fine. Some will go ahead, some won't, and that's why we have all this conversation.
I totally agree with that. I've always used the PRDs as kind of your like working start, right? And so I usually write them differently from the business case because I want to include both the business highlights. Okay, what's the summary? What's the opportunity? What's, the KPIs? But then also the technical stuff to facilitate those conversations with engineering. Okay, what is actually the implementation that we're recommending here, or the, links to technical documentation, what's the acceptance criteria, that kind of stuff. And then using them, like you said, just they're a working document, right? We haven't invested that much time yet, but it's getting everybody really to understand, okay, the, how, what, when, where, why of what we're doing, and what's being asked. So those definitely facilitate the conversations with engineers, and okay, what are we doing? They can ask questions, and that's where great stuff comes out of it. I actually like to involve the QA team in that as well, because if they can say something before it lands on their desk already built, that is like a huge time saver. So I always try to have someone from QA look at those too, because if anybody knows what could potentially break, it's them. So yeah, I definitely agree, Gus, 100% that those are a great working document that in the end just save you so much time, but also get you that collaboration that you need.
Amazing. To squirrel our conversation a little, this made me think of a classic problem that when I was a product manager, I was making the transition from marketing manager to product manager, and then I started to see a bit of the issue where people who are not product or engineering experts make overly prescriptive asks. They want you to build a thing. They think engineering's job is go build me X, and they don't do a great job defining what they're looking for from this. And if engineering just listens to them and builds it, it frequently, honestly, doesn't actually accomplish what they were hoping to accomplish because they're not software experts. And I would love to know from your perspective, like, how do you educate them on how to do that better? How do you handle those situations? What does that look like for you?
I can start simple. For me is I tell people, tell me the problem, not the solution. So, if they're like, I need a report that blah, 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 I'm like, wait a minute, let's go back. Why, or I need to be able to just, dynamic tags or something, okay, wait, let's go back. Exactly what are you trying to do? How, when? So, asking them what the problem is and then shadowing. I've done a lot of shadowing as a product manager. I sit with people and I say, what are you trying to work on? What is you accomplishing? What are the steps you're taking? So show me the problem and let the engineers and the people who know how to build solutions build the solution.
Love that.
Yeah, I think it's very similar, and I also try to protect the engineers in a sense before there's a wave of tickets coming in. So if I can catch up on a conversation that there's already a way to fix this without creating an engineering ticket, or if I know that they are addressing something similar in something that is going to come up in 1 or 2 months, I try to combine those things together or just avoid them from happening. If I don't see that they will actually have a huge benefit, right? Sometimes I say that, and the other stakeholder says it doesn't matter that we can't tie this to traffic or to conversions. We still need to do for a different reason. Then I work with them and I create the ticket and we go ahead. Um, but yeah, like sometimes it's asking like what do you want on the other side, right? I've done this before with engineers as well, exactly what Heather said. I want this to happen, this, and this. And they're like, well, we can't do it this way. And over time you learn that you should come up with the problem, and you can suggest what you think it could be a solution, but ultimately they are the ones who are going to say this is the best way to build this. Like I see some design documents now when I say I want to build a solution that does this, and they have like 4 different scenarios, and I see on this design document all the comments between them, and collectively they will reach an agreement on what's the best way to do this. So it's a lot more complex than we, as not being engineers, think that something is.
So, as a developer on the call, thank you. Yes, protect us. We have so many tickets usually coming our way, and everybody's thing is a fire. And so, you know what? That means nothing's on fire. But yeah, so I love that. And I think that's something that Tori and I have definitely. We've been very fortunate with the clients that we have. There's a lot of times that we can say like, "Hey, this is what we want. This is how the code needs to read for Google and their documentation and like what we're going for." Like one of the things I think about all the time is how developers want to code links. There's like so many different ways to code links, and for whatever reason, they always want to do different ways than what Google says. But it's exactly that of let the developers be the experts that they are. SEOs, you're the expert in your SEO. Like it's lean on each other for those things. But yes, as also a developer, thank you. Because there's usually a lot of requests coming our way. And yeah, to what Tori was talking about, if it's I can't say it, so we're just gonna assume that I said the word
Prescriptive.
Thank you. That it does often you don't get what you thought you were going to get, or it's not doing everything you thought because of all these assumptions. So that's also why product managers, we need more of you.
Examples go a long way too. So looking at how are the competitors doing it? What are the key elements of what they're doing that you like? What don't you like? Giving those examples can help developers know, okay, where you're wanting to go with the solution, and can also help them kind of craft a solution that's going to make everybody happy. So I usually, along with my PRD, a lot of times I would create like a slide deck of here's competitor A and how they're doing, competitor B. So and send that in, that was in my Jira tickets too, so that people could see, what's being done and kind of pick and choose how we're going to build it from there.
Totally.
Yeah, I think also living with them on the day-to-day, let's say on daily stand-ups and things like that, will let you understand better what's going on. So let's say to stick with roadmaps, I have a few things planned for this next year, and I see a lot of other tickets that are not part of a large initiative. that come in. And even yesterday, I noticed the tickets that I have a similar request, and the third person told me that they have a similar request. So I'm like, okay, let's not do this on this sprint that starts now, because there will be two similar tickets coming in a matter of weeks. So might as well just wait and do all at once, because the engineering cost to do all of these is the same, but each engineer will only pick a certain number of tickets every sprint. So I rather do this a little bit late and then just tackle 3 requests at once, instead of just doing a part of work now. And those tickets, as much as you want to do everything, those tickets will take space away from the other bigger things that you want to do. So if you don't make that selection even further than triage when they're about to be picked up, if you don't make that selection, you can just get lost and do tons of little things that are not really as impactful as the 1 or 2 big things that you have planned for the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fights against the urge that I think a lot of SEOs have for perfectionism now.
Yeah, which I think happens, like, especially as you get larger and larger sites, it's just less possible, right? And understanding that, the speed of enterprise is not what you can do with a small site. That's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
I think that also usually comes with, hey, we need to build test cases, because if we get it wrong, you don't want to have spent 6 months, have that across the site, and suddenly you're trying to backtrack. So we've been talking a lot about like validating the ideas, how you work with stakeholders. But I think one of the things that, and Tori's bringing it up, of like everything seems like now. So what kind of systems do you use to prioritize what's on your roadmap? How do you decide what's most impactful, especially in those areas where like, hey, we know that this is going to have a huge impact in search, but it's also going to take 200 hours of dev, things like that. How do you weigh that? And Heather, I'm going to start with you this time. I already know your system and I love it, so I want to hear more about it.
So for me, for prioritizing, obviously you want to look at business goals, right? That's going to be your very high level first in prioritizing. How does this align with what I know the overall KPIs of the business are? What are the numbers the business is looking at? And just making sure your projects fit in with that realm, and where they fit, and which ones can you tie them to, because I've always said that you need to first and foremost make sure your approach is balanced. We don't want to see, if you just focus on a bunch of traffic drivers, you're going to be building up technical debt in the background. So you need to be working at each of your different, whatever your business goals are. But within those, and how I really put things on the roadmap, is I use the weighted shortest job first methodology, and that's from the scaled agile approach to product management. And so what that is it's basically a formula where you take the level of effort and the business or SEO impact, the time criticality, and the risk. The risk if you don't do it, and you put numbers to all of that, you add them together, divide by the level of effort, and it tells you how much value this is going to deliver based on the work that you're doing. So I use the weighted shortest job first, because it is really an objective metric of saying, okay, I want to be able to constantly deliver value and be making impact. How can I do that in the most efficient way possible? And there's ways to, kind of hack that number. If you see a project that you're like, okay, I really need to do, a whole bunch of local landing pages, right? It's going to be a monster project because I want to add all of these UGC elements, and you wouldn't put that as one project on your roadmap, right? You would put, okay, I'm going to start with, let's collect user reviews is going to be one project on its own, by locality. I'm going to now go ahead and make some, partnerships with local groups that I'm eventually going to put on these pages. So you would break that into smaller projects and weigh that priority. And so that's usually using the weighted shortest job first helps you not only just deliver more value faster, but it helps you stop and take those big projects and only do what's going to be the MVP of them first and get that ball rolling.
Awesome.
What about you guys?
Yeah, not too far from this. So I usually have a couple of topics on my roadmap. So let's say not more than 4 things. Um, and I always have the MVP as well. So I want to validate that maybe in one locale or with a group of pages before you scale and do it a whole lot more. And I always try to use, if there was a learning from someone who did something similar before. It can be on a different product at Indeed, or it can be somewhere external, something that I've done in the past. And what I find it really useful for a lot of things that we do is there's a measuring system called causal impact that Indeed uses, and I'm sure a lot of other companies use as well. But it will allow you to compare a test and a control group. So let's say if you made a change to this 1,000 pages, you can also find a control group of another 1,000 or 2,000 pages that have a similar traffic or similar conversion, whichever metric you want. And once you made that update, you can see how much did your test group grew more than the other group. And that's a way to isolate what is the impact of an internal link measure or a new type of landing page or whatever it is. And I use those percentages to know what should I do next. Can I keep going further on internal linking, or should I build the new page types, or should I create a connection with a different product, and so on. So there were things that I thought this is going to be huge, and it was 2%, 3%, and in a company as big as Indeed, like I'm talking about the 2% on a product that we got 10 million more sessions, but that's not really much compared to the scale that we have. So, it looks great on paper. It's like, okay, I deliver you 10 million more sessions, but it doesn't really change much compared to other things that did another 50 million, 100 million.
Mm-hmm.
So taking those learnings from what you did before, it does really help you to know what you're going to do next.
So it sounds like you're doing a lot of testing, like you're doing consistent testing.
I do as much as I can on different things. We don't do a test every day, but I would say at least once a month there's something that we get to test on my products, and I see what other products are testing as well. And sometimes if I'm doing something for the first time, I'm gonna use the reference they have as a benchmark to say this is what it could happen.
Gotcha.
My question, Gus, was going to be, so when you have something that requires development to set up the test, do you typically take the approach of making that like a phase 1 of the overall project, or do you make the test its own project, run the test, and then come back to whatever the main project is to put on the roadmap if it turns out to be viable from the test?
It could be either way. So if I already have a project going, that test becomes my MVP. And in some other cases, I just have an idea that is too small to be an initiative, and maybe doesn't even get a PRD. Like, oh, we just want to add a certain structured data type on these pages, and we'll see on its own what it does. And then maybe later in the year, you realize, oh, there's a whole topic around this. Can we do an initiative on SERP interactions? Or I don't know, I'm just making up something here. And then suddenly that structured data becomes just a little piece of something bigger. So it can come from either way.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Love that.
So thanks for both of you for sharing how you prioritize. I like that both of you are coming at it from a data perspective. I think, that's something that product disciplines, at least from what I've seen, is really bringing to SEO, right? I feel like a lot of SEO has been, well, Google said to do this, so I'm going to do it, or you're just trying things because your gut tells you. So I feel like
Best practices.
Yeah, I'm so sick of that phrase. But so that is one thing I really appreciate about what product management has brought to the SEO industry, and kind of the mingling of these two disciplines, because it is a lot more get the data, test, make sure things are viable. And I think that management understands that a lot more too, right? I do think a lot of times that SEO is viewed kind of as like a black box, or for those who have been in SEO for a long time. You remember all the times that we were told that we were probably just in a back room in the office, like sacrificing goats or something. Just weird times, y'all. But I think it's because we weren't articulate or knew how to communicate data. So I love that I think that's probably one of the biggest things that product is doing, is it's forcing that conversation to be data supported. So then how does that work? Like, all right, so we've talked about roadmap. How do you decide what to do? How do you prioritize? How do you go about creating it? I'd like to go on the tail end. How do you look at the success or measuring whether it worked or what you learned? Like what kind of processes do you have for kind of taking that retroactive look at what happened? How did we do? And then are there some consistent KPIs or things that you're using to say whether your roadmap was a success or not? Whoever wants to take it first.
Okay, I'll go first. So as I just mentioned, causal impact, I find this amazing because I finally have a way to say, we built this, we got a 3% incremental traffic from it, or a 5% conversion increase from it. And it took a lot of that doubt from it, right? I remember working at the agency side or with smaller clients that we would always say, oh, we did all these things. And we could think there are a few things that were easier to isolate, like, oh, we changed the page titles, and a week later we saw this traffic coming up, or could see the keywords that jump positions. But ultimately, you end up doing a lot of things at the same time. And once you get on a bigger website, there are so many things that you can do that it allows you to run a change on a group of pages, and it doesn't block other people to do other SEO tests or other optimizations. So doing this testing for me, it's been really nice, and it's great to isolate some of these. I had that same, I learned that the hard way. We had someone from products, just I think after 6 months I started on this role, and it was end of the year, and I wanted to show this is what we did and those are the results we got. So I show a graphic from analytics and say, look at this internal linking projects that we did. This is how much those pages grew. And she looks at it for a second. It's like, yeah, sure, they grew up 400%. But the whole website is growing. How do we know that this is growing because of the thing that you did? Because maybe you're just speaking back on the success that would have happened anyway. So isolating that with marketing science or with causal impact has been really useful to understand what is actually working, what is not. And I've discovered things that I did not expect would work being our biggest hits. And now I can build up my roadmap for this year actually has those learnings that I kind of stumbled upon in the middle with the different teams were doing things. And I said, oh, let's just test this. You already did anyway. Let's see if we can test it and find if there was an impact. And then suddenly there was an impact bigger than the things that I run myself. So, not trying to keep the idea to myself or, I don't know, like someone did something better than what I did. So I'm going to use that and continue developing from those things that worked even better.
Yep. Definitely finding what's working and building on it is a big part of that, the continuous testing. And then, for the question, Sam, you had about just overall business or roadmap success, how do I say if it was? So this is why I usually start with aligning with business goals. And so I want to know what the, company KPIs are, or what your division KPIs, whatever the leadership metrics are that we're looking at. So I have lanes on my roadmap that tie to what those are, those metrics, and then just monitor those, throughout the year. And can we go back and say, okay, yeah, there was significant improvement, and are there jumps similar to times where big projects rolled out, things like that. So keeping it aligned with the metrics that leadership is already looking at usually takes a lot less to get buy-in on those projects. And then at the end of the day, when you're showing the results, they're more likely to be like, okay, yes, yeah, I did see that, because they're watching it too.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think when you integrate projects as well, like I had a couple of times that SEO wanted to do something and UX wanted to do as well for different reasons.
Mhm.
And it gets a little harder when you have different teams doing something. It gets a little harder to get it completely wrong, right? You might do things because Google said so, or because it's a cool SEO thing to do that might not align with the business goals. But if wants to do, SEO wants to do, and content wants to do, there's a lot of people that must be looking the wrong way for this to fail. And you save in resources, you have more results to show as well. So, it works really well when those things get combined in one. And if you can just have one roadmap for everything, that's even better, because everyone, is keeping an eye on the same things. You can stack them versus each other, and it gets a much more productive use of time for everyone as well.
Shared goals.
Much better ROI.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because then you're trying to find they say it's working together, finding the shortcuts that you can do instead of doubling the work. So you have two different teams. So I really love that. So as we're starting to get wrapped up, I am going to go totally off what we had prepared y'all for. I want to hear about your biggest product management fail that you're allowed to talk about. Or like, maybe is there a circumstance where you're like, wow, I learned this the hard way.
You're asking two people who don't fail often. I'm just kidding.
And that, my dear, is why we work together.
No, I mean, for me, it's really, I think it's when you start out doing product management and you do try to be like somewhat of the gatekeeper of ideas and somewhat of my idea that I had is the best one. You can't help it, right? It's your favorite child. Like, you can't help it. So you start out with this, like, this is absolutely going to be the most successful. And I think Gus kind of talked about it a minute ago, is that it ends up being that. And then there's huge surprises of things that you were like, you back of your head, you're like, this is a terrible idea. I guess we'll do it anyway. Or, somebody else is really sponsoring it, and it turns out to be, like, oh, wow, like users are really engaging with that. It's really helping move the needle on metrics. And now those, pages are getting picked up or whatever's happening. And it's surprising, but I definitely think that's why I, am really tried to come up with, what is my pretty strict vetting process that I can apply this formula to all ideas, because I realized early on that I don't, I thought crypto was a bad idea. Like, I can't be trusted.
So I feel like one of the things that I've been hearing really from both of you, and I'd say that I feel like this is true for even just strictly SEOs, but it seems like the hallmark of someone who's experienced in product management or experienced in SEO has learned to always be curious, and you've got to stay humble. What you think is going to make sense. Sometimes users sometimes do things that I find incredibly stupid. And other times it's like, oh, I would have never thought that that's what a user would have thought. So that's great. So it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like one of the hallmarks of being like a really good and experienced product manager is that you're trying to remove as much bias as possible. Do you feel like that?
And I think Gus touched on it too. Collaboration is huge. It's definitely one of the biggest pieces. Working with other teams, what are they already working on? When I was leading product on my roadmap, I liked to reserve space for SEO. So there was always, story points or hours, however you're doing your sprints, for SEO. There was always for requests coming from different places. So I would always have these different buckets of, let's always have space for the different voices that need to be in an overall product strategy. So getting to a place from the SEO PM standpoint of that with the main product team, and having that kind of assured SEO is going to be a focus helps that buy-in right away. But definitely just collaboration from start to finish with every document you build and roadmap strategy that you put out there. You want everybody to be informed and aligned on it.
I think I have a big one, at least was a big one for me, to don't let the communication drop ever. And I was working on building something that would appear, we would use a surface from another product to display links. And I talked with the SEO from this other product, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we're already building it. It's very simple. We'll do it in all time." And I came back. I had a whole PRD, and so I just had a short conversation with this person from the other team, and I started selling this on my products. Like, "Oh, they're gonna take care of this. It's gonna be very simple. We just need to do this little things. Blah blah blah." Once the time came in to do it, and I met with the PM from the product and the engineers and our engineers, and they were like, "No, we don't have time to do this. You can write on our code base, and it's going to go through all the usual process that we have people that will review QA, acceptability, and so on." And I was like, "Okay, I've been selling this for a couple of months now." And I really had to go to different people and say, "Hey, I talked with the SEO first, and we both agreed. It's like, I'm sorry that I made it sound very simple, and I had to apologize to different people as well and say, hey, I said this, this, and this. I was wrong. This is what happened, and we're still going to do it, but we have to do it." And nobody was too mad or anything, but I felt that pressure that I sold something on the incorrect way, that it was like, this is going to be great, so easy, it's basically done, to realize, okay, we have 4 sprints of work here. And
Yeah.
you kind of learn and you say, okay, I'm going to double check with everyone. I know now working with a different product takes a lot more time, so I need to really make sure that the product is worth that headache and all of those timelines. It will take longer, but it's experience. You learn from it. Nothing broke, nothing stopped working or didn't lose traffic or conversions or anything, so it was still fine.
Yeah.
Well,
You
kudos.
averted the fire. Nice work.
Yeah. Kudos to you for also, admitting and apologizing. Like that's
I think I work
in a work setting for me. So that's why I'm like, kudos for sure.
Yeah, I think I work. It's not to keep saying great things about Indeed, but I do work with a really good team. And I have a great manager. We have this 2-line direction. If he says something, he's like, "Sorry, this didn't work the way I hope it would work," and I feel open to say things the same way. So maybe it would be different in another place, but I think I built some trust and confidence on so many other projects that when something goes wrong, I will also come and say, "Hey, I did this wrong. This is my fault. Here's what I propose to solve this and to avoid it to happen again." And as long as you learn and you can move from it, that's the way to go.
Yeah. Amazing ownership. Yeah, I love that. And you need to have that safe space, that ability to be vulnerable, to be able to take the chances, to be able to have the big wins.
Yeah.
Right. You're not going to achieve those big wins if people are afraid to bring up ideas or say that they were wrong, or that, if they're afraid to ask questions is another thing that I see a lot. Like they're afraid to ask the dumb question because the environment is not maybe they're not toxic, but maybe they're not safe enough that you feel you can ask that question. And maybe that's a really key question, which is why I really, really love dumb questions. Like they're and we should not call them dumb questions, obviously, but they're kind of my favorite because playing dumb goes a long way and makes sure there's no baseline miscommunications that are really foundationally critical to everything. And to Sam's point, that can be brave.
Yeah.
Like you have to be very confident in order to ask the silly question and then sometimes have a very silly answer. But sometimes not.
Yeah, but no, I love that. And Gus, feel free to rave about your team all you want. I feel like, especially, you're in-house now, but you've seen agency life. There's so many really not ideal work situations, especially for our industry, that let's talk about the successes too. I'm biased. I love Gray Dot, but it's Tori. Hopefully, I like what Tori and I are building, or something's majorly wrong. But really love to hear about other areas and other places that are a joy to work and are kind of going for those shared goals. Because we're not known for being the kindest industry to work in. And so anywhere where we can put a spotlight on where it is, I want more of it.
Yeah, and we're not hiring SEOs now, but if anybody in the future is applying for a job as SEO at Indeed, it is a great place to be an SEO. So if you have that doubt, I give you my stamp of approval.
Fantastic. All right. So thank you all so much for joining today. This has been a fantastic conversation. I had a lot of fun and I feel like I've learned a ton. So really, really appreciate y'all taking the time. For anyone who has any questions for Gus or Heather, where are the places? And Gus, let's start off with you. Where can our audience find you if they want to continue the conversation, learn more, or just see what you're working on that you're allowed to talk about?
I share a whole bunch on Twitter/X, on LinkedIn as well. I have my own website, guspelogia.com, that I write on it from time to time. I have a couple of blog posts coming up this quarter on Moth and on Crawl, and I'll be speaking at Brighton SEO in April on how to write the perfect ticket for your devs. So if you are in the UK, coming to Brighton, come to see me. And that's pretty much where all the places you can find me online.
Awesome.
You mean all the places?
Yeah.
You can find me on LinkedIn, or you can email me. I'm Heather at the Gray Dot Company.
Awesome.
Oh, bold, Heather. Bold.
Yes, I
know.
What a girl.
And then, of course, for anyone who wants to interact with the Gray Dot Company, we're at gray.co, LinkedIn, Twitter/X. Gus, I liked your version. And then if you have any questions that you want us to tackle on Opinionated SEO Opinions, or there's a certain topic you want us to talk about, please submit that to thegray.company/ask SEO questions. We're always happy to take those, and we will catch you next time. Thanks everyone for watching.